So I recently had a viewer reach out to me and ask me how they could repair a power cord on a device. They didn't want to throw the device away. They were wondering if there's a way to repair the cord. And I just happen to have a damaged grinder cord here and a damaged extension cord. And I'm going to show you how to replace the ends on these devices, on the power cords, to make them safe again. So Lowe's and Home Depot is generally where I shop, not a sponsor. They sell these new ends and they're all a little bit different and they're used for different purposes. And before you just go out and buy any end to repair a device or repair an extension cord, you want to consider what you're repairing. So let's start with the extension cord. It may or may not tell you what the amperage rating is on the extension cord, but if it's a pretty small cord, you pretty much know it's going to be a 15 amp extension cord. If it's an extension cord that's quite a bit bigger, it might be a 20 or even a 30 amp extension cord. But you're kind of the run-of-the-mill, $15 extension cords you can get at Lowe's or Home Depot. They're going to be your 15 amp extension cords. So you want to consider that whenever you buy the plugs for them, because these plugs actually do have what they're rated at as far as the amperage is concerned. And so you want to make sure that you're putting the right plug on the right cord. So you can tell that this is a 3-prong cord, and so you want to replace it with a 3-prong end. So there's writing on the outlet end that'll tell you what it's rated for. This one says 125 volts, 15 amps. And these are pretty straightforward. Just take the screw out of the top here. And this just slips out, and you can see that there's a place for a ground wire and a hot wire and a neutral wire. Your hot is always the copper screw and your neutral is always the silver screw. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut the end off. I just have some wire strippers. Cut the end off, and you want to be super careful, but this is how I do it. You just kind of use the wire strippers to cut that outside jacket off, but you want to be super careful not to cut the inside wires. Okay, I'm inspecting the wires. Doesn't look like I nicked them at all. Go ahead and get the cardboard out of the way. And as you can see, just like with the Romex wire, you have the black, the hot wire, and you have the green, which is your ground wire, and you have the white, which is your neutral wire. So then what you're going to do, put these into the new end. And you can tell I don't have a whole lot of wire sticking out because this wire is going to be used to wrap around the screws. And obviously I don't want any wire sticking out the back. I want this to be completely contained. Okay, I'm going to get the wire strip back. And I guess if you have any questions of what gauge it is, at this stage you can tell because on the wire strippers it'll tell you what gauge you're cutting. So that'll help you if you have any questions. So it's fitting in the 14 gauge, it's stripping the jacket back without cutting into the wires. Okay, once you get them cut, twist them so it's kind of a solid wire. You don't want any of the strands sticking out, certainly not going and conducting into any other wire. Okay, once they're stripped back, you'll just feed them around the screws. And you want to put these in such a way that as you tighten the screw down, it's going to tighten up on the wire. So you can see that I fed that around clockwise because the screw is going to screw in clockwise. And it'll help tighten up the wire against the screw. So I have all my connections made, and they're all on here pretty tight. You certainly don't want them pulling off. So now put the end on and put the screw back in. And these are plastic, so obviously don't crank down on the screw. And that's it. Okay, same principle with the female end. So if you want to test these, which you absolutely should, at least if it's an extension cord, take your voltmeter and find the little V with the squiggly line. That's voltage and that's alternating current because it's the squiggly line. So if you don't completely understand all of this just yet, just trust me, just take the 200 V with the squiggly line, put your setting to that. This hole here is obviously the ground. The smaller hole is the hot, and the larger hole is your neutral. So take and put the one prong into the neutral, and take the other prong, put it in the hot, and we should get about 120 volts. I think you can see that on the voltmeter. It's about 120 volts. So we're going to test going from hot to neutral, which we just did. Now go from hot to ground. We should get about 120 volts, which we do. Now this is important. Take either one of the probes, go from neutral to ground, and you should get nothing, because obviously there's no voltage between those two legs. Okay, looks like we have a good extension cord. So replacing the end or repairing the cord on a device is a little bit different. On devices, they have these little placards, and on this placard, it says 100, I don't know if you can see it, but it says 120 volts, 4.3 amps. So if you ever go to replace the cord or to make a repair on the end or replace the end on a cord, you want to make sure that you're using a proper end. So if you're going to replace a bigger microwave or an air conditioner or something like that, you want to make sure that you're replacing it with a compatible end. So on this grinder, I have a 2-prong and there's no ground. So I'm going to replace it with a 2-prong end. And you definitely won't be able to see this, but this is rated at 15 amps, 125 volts. So I'm well within the capacity to replace the end on this grinder. And this is a brownish color. They make these in white and different kinds of colors. I don't know even if Amazon has different colors, but this is what I'm going to replace this end with. I'm going to go right past the damaged portion, cut it off, and maybe just go back. This is all kind of arbitrary. It might take a little bit of a couple tries to get it right. But I'm just going to strip the wire back. And I guess what I'm going off from, if you kind of see the length of wire that'll be needed inside after you wrap it around the screws. And obviously you can do this with a utility knife as well. I just had really good luck doing it this way. Okay, we have our 2 wires. Doesn't look like I damaged anything. Okay, just take the screw. All I had to do was loosen the screw up on this one and it came out. Folds back. I'll put the cord in here. Of course, we have the silver screw that'll be for our neutral. The hot screw will be the gold. So this end has a little place where you can just push the wire in and tighten it down. So that's what I'm gonna do. I got these way too long. So what I'm gonna do is bend these back a little bit, kind of put a little bit of a curl on them. And now when that little tab squishes against these, it'll make a really good connection. Okay, it doesn't look like these are going to pull out. So go ahead and tuck those back down. Tighten the screw up. Okay, and now we have a perfectly safe end on this grinder. And I don't really mind the length only being this long because I usually plug these into extension cords anyway. And using the repaired extension cord, I'm going to try out the grinder. There you go, good as new. So obviously make these repairs at your own risk, but you can see they're not difficult, and you can certainly test at least the extension cords, make sure that they're functioning properly. And hopefully this helps you to repair some devices instead of having to replace them. We appreciate all of you that have subscribed, and we appreciate watching this video, and we hope to see you in the next one. Thanks.